Why do people believe in gods? I was wondering, due to the fact that scientifically there is more proof saying gods don't exist than saying they do. Humans are psychologically inclined to create complex belief structures to define ourselves and the world around us. Before God as we know it, i.e. organized religions, human cultures around the world would worship nature, the sun, fire, etc. Then we'd create characters that embodied specific human concepts and values, like we can see with European and Eurasian pagan beliefs, which includes the Norse gods, Greek gods, etc. Only when these beliefs became too boring and people begin to be unsatisfied with them, humankind begin to desperately seek for something to grasp onto and form a belief out of it. Then when Abraham, Muhammad and Jesus Christ came along, the Abrahamic religions were born and the West finally had an effective organized religion to follow. The three of them spread from the Middle East to Africa, Europe and parts of Asia. Paganism was toppled, Zoroastrianism too. Islam, Christianity and Judaism took over a good chunk of the old world. Right now, we're experiencing the same thing people under the Roman Empire felt before Christianity. A religious, philosophical and ideological vacuum. With the golden age of nihilist and pessimist philosophies, the 19th and 20th centuries, the fall of the belief structures that fueled Europe's colonial, imperialist and ideological aspirations, which happened during the World Wars, the increase in atheist beliefs and the advent of postmodernism, the West began to ideologically, culturally and religiously starve itself. That's why in the 20th century, ideologies as insane as fascism and communism were able to strive in so many parts of the world. And that's why people today are so politically active and, in some cases, pushed to the extreme ends of the political spectrum. Like the people under Roman rule, we're desperately looking for something to believe in, to grasp onto and keep it tight inside our hearts. I think it was a way to explain what at one time was unexplainable. As for scientific proof, there is really no way to prove that gods do exist, but there's no way to prove they don't either. I think it's probably a source of comfort for a lot of people. Perhaps it gives people a sense of purpose and meaning. I walked away from religion when I realized that I had more spiritual experiences outside of a church setting than I ever did in one. I think more people today would identify as spiritual over religious if they were asked to choose between the two. Knowing the difference is important. I believe we are all spiritual beings in a sense. Religion just doesn't like spiritual because it means that some people have to partake in immoral activities to experience a spiritual awakening. I'm talking about taking earth medicines like marijuana, ayahuasca, shrooms, etc. or anything that doesn't fit inside a religious narrative. I'm gonna speak from my personal POV. I have, in my lifetime, experienced too many miracles that came after hard prayer to not believe that there is a higher power. Money that came at just the right time. A job offered in a time of desperation, answers to questions that came from unexpected sources, prophecies that came true within minutes of being foretold, second chances at life for loved ones, being in the right place at the right time, etc. Can I say for sure that the God I believe in is the same for everyone? No. For me, it brings me comfort to know I have a higher power looking out for me. Someone or something I can turn to when the human race fails me. Something to trigger my spiritual existence. I believe fully that those who do not believe in a higher power, a God or the universe, can experience these miracles and chalk it up to coincidence or a stroke of good fortune. It all comes down to a couple of things. How you were raised, what you have experienced in your past and present, but more so your own personal conviction on the matter. God or no God, it's no one's right to say that what you choose to believe in is right or wrong. I think religion has really obstructed the concept of God. Religion takes a higher power and applies limitations to what that deity can or cannot do. If there truly is an all-powerful, all-knowing, always existing being that rules us all, then no religion has the authority to isolate that being to fit their narrative. I believe that many humans would go insane without the notion of knowing that there's more than living and dying. It gives some a sense of purpose and often the motivation to be good. It's so easy to be a terrible person. I personally am not religious. And I don't hate that people are, but it fascinates me the stories about these gods. I especially love mythology. One aspect I don't agree with is churches. To me, any establishment that begs for money in the name of religion is a cult. What do you mean by gods? Do you mean sentient beings in other dimensions that have thoughts, wants and desires that act independently, selfishly, emotionally? Or do you mean powers that the creatures of our world are beholden to? Gods of anger, that immortal ever-present force that drives enraged decisions. Gods of happiness, an immortal ever-present force that drives gleeful decisions. Etc. etc. Or do you mean the one true God of all gods, the one that is described as being named that which does exist? I consider this God to be the way of things. Thou shalt not sin or suffer the wrath of the order of existence. A sin in this case, not being an action that a sentient being says gross I choose to smite you now where no smiting would have otherwise occurred, but rather a sin being I drop hammer over foot, punishment equals squashed foot. Do you believe you serve no gods? Do you believe you serve no God? If not, then what drives you to do anything other than lay down on the spot and rot away until you die? Is it a force from within you that tells you to eat, drink, and seek happiness of some kind? Sounds like gods to me. One of our survival mechanisms biologically programmed into our brains is the ability to seek out patterns. This helps us make the connection between pulling on the saber-toothed tiger's tail and being removed prematurely from the gene pool. If we can find the pattern, our odds of survival increase because we can see the circumstances that led to Unga Bunga's death and therefore avoid them ourselves. A side effect of this constant search for patterns is that we believe that everything has a deeper meaning than what we see on the surface. Again, sometimes this is a good thing because it helps us survive, and other times it results in people thinking there's more to our short existence than meets the eye. That creates the question, why do I exist? An easy answer to that is that a higher power is pulling the strings and has a plan for us. Thanks for listening to Uday. Hit the subscribe button and activate the notification bell for daily updates. Let us know what you think and or suggest new topics in the comments.